Hi, I'm Ron Nutter, and welcome to another edition of Tech Bites with Ron Nutter. In this episode, we're going to talk about making your Raspberry Pi a tablet. Yes, it can be done, just maybe not the way you think. Now, this content is also available as an Amazon flash briefing or podcast. Please go to techbiteswithronnutter.com for more information for any items mentioned in this episode. There are affiliate links in the description. If you click on these, I will get a small commission, but that won't affect the price you pay for the item. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please click on subscribe and enable notifications. If this video helps you or provides value, please click on that like button, thumbs up. Now, we're going to go over the different pieces, parts that are going to be involved, and then you'll watch me get the assembly done, and then we'll put the rubber to the road and see about getting this all up and running. Now, for the parts involved, we're going to be doing this time I went with the Raspberry 4B 2 gig model. It just happened to be it was a few dollars more than the 1 gig. The 1 gig is typically what I will do unless there's a major need to go beyond that. And then this went with the official Raspberry Pi screen because there are other ones out there, but I wanted to try to stay at this iteration to be the closest to the real thing that I can. So let's get switched over to good old demo cam. As you can see, we've got kind of a full table here. Now, I've already tried to save some time, and I've taken the case apart, and we're going to lay one part of it off to the side here, the base of it, and we'll lay that here. Now, to save a little bit of time, I went ahead and created the micro SD that we're going to use. We'll put this here, and I'm going to have to get some things laid over here. I'm going to need a bigger demo table. This is the nice thing with using one of the iFixit toolkits is I can keep the screws together, and this is some of the hardware that came with the case, and we're going to need that. So let's undo the case here. The display. And we've got some screws they sent along. We have the cable that we're going to need to go from the Raspberry Pi to the display board. That safety guide really doesn't tell us anything. Here are some of the wires that we're going to need to go to jumper the base of the power supply coming in from the outside to that. Now, when I start setting this up, I'm not actually going to put everything back in the case. That's kind of, I'm not that brave here. So let's get the case, get the display. I don't want to keep saying case. So here is display, and I'm going to keep that on there till, well, I don't know, I may go ahead and mount the display and take it off. I haven't decided yet. But see, then there's the standoffs, and let's get the bag opened up here. And I should have had a pocket knife back here with me to make this a little bit easier. And we will get these screws here, because what you're going to have to do, and the documentation is a little lean. I had to do a lot of looking up, much more than I would have expected. So first we've got to get the right size screw head, and I can pretty much go with the one that I had already been using. And this is where I really have enjoyed the iFixit toolkit, because it has the right bits for just about everything you're going to want to do. Whoops. Didn't want to. Oh, no, that's too big of a screw here. All right, so we're going to have to do. Okay. That was going to be way too much. So we've gone with the smaller screw here. And I'm going to change out the bits because that one possibly could run. I'll step down a bit size. And So we'll just go right in here. Yeah, that feels a lot better going into the display, because I didn't want to run the risk of stripping that out, which could have happened. And all right. And did I miss a screw here, maybe? Okay, well, we'll just improvise for right now. I want to go ahead and get these brackets put in place. And all right, now we have that, and those were the right screws, so it looks like I'm going to be a screw short, but that's where I will probably, no, not the right, I thought I had one lay off to the side here, and that wasn't it. So we will get the box open here for the Raspberry 2B. And key camera, so that is okay. All right. Now let's look here. All we should have to do is carefully slide that in. I'm actually going to have to come in from above here to get this put in place. And this is, okay, come on. There we go. Don't want to bend it down heavy, but I had to kind of push it in under that connector. So, and we will do, okay, we'll pull up on the Raspberry Pi card. You pull up on a little bit of a restraint, and that's what was the difference on that one. So I will put that in. Okay. And then clamp it back down, so that's not going to go anywhere. All right. And then what we will do is use, I believe it's going to be these screws that we're going to have. Well, actually, I'm getting the cart before the horse here, because I'm going to do two of the, get this extra box out of the way here. And bless their hearts, they had these all rubber banded together, and I'm going to have to go undo it, because I'm not going to put in all the wires. And that was another thing that took some digging when I first got into this, and there was some differences of opinion on using all 4 wires. Now, maybe with some of the earlier Raspberry Pis, you didn't have to. So I'm going to pick black and red, and I'll leave these other 2 wires off to the side. So black will go to ground. Right. And then red will go on the 5-volt, and this is on the display. There we go. And let's put these in here both uniform. Shouldn't make a difference, but just for the sake of consistency. And there. Now let's see if they gave me a pinout card on here, and if not, let's see here. Okay. So now, and we want to keep that way, so let's go put the screws in here, and I'm going to use the old trick of getting the screwdriver to open the bag. Okay. And this is where using this. I don't know. Those are standoffs, and that's for tapping. Okay, that means I need to use these screws. And this one came in a pouch you can open, and I'm going to get this over here in that, because if I had a screw fall off here, then that would explain why I suddenly couldn't find that one. Okay, now, and this is another reason why you want to have your SD card prepared in advance, is that's the slot's going to get blocked by that cable. So let's take the micro SD card that I've already prepared, and this is why you want to have that done in advance. Okay, so we've got that in here, and okay, so, and I fix it. Handle is a little bit larger than what you might think you need to have, but on the other hand, it does help you get a little bit more torque into the screw, although you don't want to tighten it down real heavy. And I'm just going to do probably would call a finger tight, because I don't want to take this and strip things out, because then you're in a real world of hurt. And I'm going to reach over here. I've got something where I can double check my pins. Okay, so 5-volt power, which you're going to need, will come up on pin 2, and then ground will be pin 5. And we will get our trusty supply here. Okay. And make sure it is, I believe that says turn off. It's one thing, there's a kind of a lack of standardization within the different power supplies. And we will do that. And we'll turn on. Okay, well, I should be seeing, okay, the Raspberry Pi is starting to boot up, and maybe it's got to get to a certain point on the screen. Well, as you can tell, I kind of had to stop things for a bit and regroup, because things just weren't working the way that they went, and found out part of the reason why. And let's switch over to the demo cam. The real culprit was this cable right here. And I had to go into, I found the Raspberry Pi documentation page, and I will put the links to that in this description. And if you notice, there is a blue segment or blue coloring on the cable. That had to be positioned exactly like that and clamped down, and then just keep the cable, ribbon cable, over here and plugged in on the bottom. And that way the pins are up, because once I looked very closely at this connection here, the pins were actually on the top side of that connector that you can't really see with my fingers in the way. And then this one, the fingers were on a similar, they were on this part here. So therein lied the problem. So now, as they say, is the acid test. We'll turn this on. And that's what you should see come up. So it came up almost right away. And then the 4 raspberries. So really this came up right away once I fixed the cabling problem. And of course it tells you that SSH is enabled and the Pi password hasn't been changed. And I really don't see a way to echo the screen out because I'm feeding it off that way. That's something I'm going to have to look at. And let's see if I can zoom down here a little bit with it, and that might help. Yeah, just a skosh here. Okay, so we'll tap on OK. And this is with no extra drivers loaded. This is with the Raspberry Pi. So I'm going to try to get Wi-Fi on. And I put the script in place that should have set everything, but for some reason it didn't like it. So we'll tap on set the country. And I had done that in the script. Let's go here. Come on. There we go. Oh, okay. So we're going to have to... okay, we'll go down here a ways. And that's just with the touchiness of the screen, no pun intended. And let's go down here and we'll select US. And there, United States. And if you're wondering why you've got to set this, if you really haven't delved in deep to wireless, there are, well, in the US there's 11 channels. There's a total of, I guess, 14 channels worldwide, but there's 1 through 11 here in the US. And here's all mine. So that's 5 gig. All right, and it didn't. Okay, obviously I'm going to have to figure out how to bring up keyboard here. Okay, had to do a little bit of digging that I hadn't planned on there. I assumed that there was going to be a keyboard that would automatically come up as a part of the Raspberry Pi connection to the touchscreen. There was not. Found out how to do that, and I will have the notes. It took me all of a few minutes to fix, but there was no good way to do the video and show you how it was going on. Basically, you're going to want to have a keyboard and mouse attached to the... Oops. Oh, okay. I've got the screen set in pretty tight. You'll want to have a keyboard and mouse attached when you first bring this up. I had put in the script initially, and that was the saving grace, to automatically enable SSH. That allowed me to get in without the keyboard. Now I did have to plug it into a wire connection because since I couldn't enter the password for the SSID, I couldn't get in on wireless. So some lessons learned on this one. Don't go to try to go wireless right away. I put in the WPA supplicant config file, which I'll also have in the notes for this video or podcast, depending on how you're getting this information, to show you what I did, and it still didn't take it. So game plan 2 is to have a keyboard and mouse temporarily to get you up and running, and then you can install something called matchbox-keyboard. It's matchbox-keyboard. Now, once you have that, then here's what you're going to be able to see. And I've got this, and I'm going to drop the lower third so you don't have to look at that. So once you have it installed, so we'll tap on the Raspberry icon. We'll click on, or tap on accessories, and you now notice there's keyboard. And once you have keyboard, voila. Now, granted, it's a little tiny. There's obviously some learning curves that I'm still going to have to do. Now, I also had to make an adjustment on the Raspberry Pi with how it was mounted, and let me show you kind of what had to be done there. And when I got everything in the case, it wasn't as neat and pretty as that is showing you. So I actually had to install the Raspberry Pi directly on the back of the case, which I then had to redo the cable. So I mean the ribbon cable. The power is still working fine. The other thing that I'm gonna have to figure out is the power. There was a knockout here on the back, and I'm going to figure out how to get that done a little bit better so I can at least get power to it. So that's at least an option. And now it is up on wireless, but I still have the others. And I can, if you do so carefully, if you want to change the SD card. And there it is right there. You will have to take the case apart to do it. So it's at least worth considering, because at this point I have a very portable system here that, at the worst case, without getting the keyboard installed, and we'll tap the X to close it, then at least you have an option of a Raspberry Pi with a portable screen. So there is more than one way probably to do this. This is the case that I got a hold of. The one that I had really hoped to have, because it had the built-in base and swiveling, suddenly went out of stock on Amazon. So should have ordered it early, but we all know coulda, woulda, shoulda. So that's where we stand at this point. It is functional. There's obviously some things that are still in flux, and I'm going to do some other videos as I learn how to figure out some of these things. And if you figure out a way, please let me know, and I'll be glad to add it into a video and give you full credit for it, because if we all help each other, then we're going to be in a much better shape. But at least this way, you see there, you've got a way to have a nice screen to it. And there's some other options that I'm looking at to make it kind of like a network test device. And now they know how to bring up the keyboard, assuming that the files aren't significantly different, or how the applications were, then that may have to kind of roll with the punches on that one. This is, it's something new territory for all of us, but I didn't want to just leave you hanging without knowing how to get the keyboard done. But by all means, do the SSH file at the root of the micro SD card before you boot it up on the Raspberry Pi. That's what gave me the saving grace of getting in remotely. And I could have gotten a keyboard and mouse, and I did have one handy. So that's always an option too, but I like bringing them up without the keyboard if I can at all. And once I entered in the password or the passphrase for the SSID, it worked great. So got some things to figure out. The power cord is what I'm not real happy about. I'm going to have to find a way to put some stress relief on that one, because the cable is going to be kind of short. Ideally, maybe we can think about putting in some sort of internal battery, and that would certainly address that one, although I was just trying to keep it simple at this point. I've got some other Raspberry Pi, not distributions, but options of making it some sort of network test device. But here's the thing that I'm going to be able to do a video on now. Another video that's already come out, I show you how to copy the micro SD card once you've got it burned, or you've been using it for a while and you want to make a backup. Now, with having the graphical interface, you will be able to do use the RPI copier software. Now, this is in the full desktop. What I did put on here, this is the latest Raspberry Pi OS, and when I say that name, that's what they're now calling it as of a few weeks ago at the time I did this video. So that is something that's going to come along the ride. There is actually a diagnostic that will bring up here. We go under accessories, Raspberry Pi diagnostics. You can see right there, and that's not what I wanted to do. Close. So we'll tap on the Raspberry Pi icon, accessories, Raspberry Pi diagnostics. And what it's going to do for you is it's going to check to see if the SD card, come on. Well, let's get that up here. Okay, run tests. There we go. And this is basically all it does, is it helps you see if the SD card that you've got in the Raspberry Pi is going to be operating at a level you need it to, for things to not have other issues with timing. So as you can see, this is another advantage of having the GUI. I'm sure there's probably a way to have the diagnostics in a command line form. Hadn't really looked into that yet, but as you can see, this is a way where you can put a built-in display, and if you don't fully turn up the virtual keyboard, this matchbox-keyboard, and I have all the description on that and a reference to the site where I found the information, because I believe in giving credit where I found the information on how to do it. then it at least gives you an option to figure out what to do. Is it seamless? Not at this point, but that may be something that takes a little bit of learning to figure out how to do it. Anyway, that's where we stand on getting that to work. It's at least viable. There's obviously it's going to be kind of a work in progress, but I think there's some things to be done, to be had with doing it. So if you are watching this video on YouTube, you will see videos now on the screen that are the next steps to the one you've just watched or other content that you might be interested in. If this video helps you or provides value, please click on that like button, thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please click on subscribe and enable notifications. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.